Hello everybody, I'm Rusty. I want to welcome you to Island Breeze Tropicals. So today we're going to be talking about a group of bromeliads called Tillandsias. You know what, the sun is shining, the island breeze is blowing. I think it's time that you and I got growing. Come on, let's have some fun. So what is a Tillandsia? Well, let me tell you what one of the names is. One that I don't really like all that much. They're called air plants. The reason I don't like the term is that some people think that they don't need any water, that they grow in the air. And where some are very, very drought resistant, they all do have to have water. Now, you can still call them air plants, that's fine. But what air plant really means is that the vast majority of Tillandsias do not grow in soil. They are completely epiphytic. Now, epiphytic means that they don't grow in soil, that they generally are arboreal and grow on trees, sometimes on rock. So they generally grow on trees. They use their roots in order to hold onto the tree. And they have specialized structures in the cells of their leaves called trichomes. So the majority of Tillandsias get their water by absorbing it into the leaves. Now the leaves have specialized structures called trichomes. That is a specialized cell in the plant leaf that will allow the leaf to absorb water. Now this is Ionantha zebrina, and you can really notice, I think, very well, even with the increased light here on the deck, all of the trichomes on these leaves. So this plant also, because of that silver color, will also take a little bit more sunlight than the green ones. And this is Tillandsia big curly, and you can see that it has come into flower as well. And you can barely make out the roots coming out of the base of this plant. Remember, it's an epiphyte. Now, they don't have anything to attach to, so they're not growing at all. And their water capability, or at least their capability to bring in water, is very, very limited. The plant relies mostly on the trichomes that you can see in the leaf. And then Spanish moss. And Spanish moss is, in fact, a bromeliad. And it may be the only bromeliad that grows into the temperate zone of the United States. It can be found in places in Virginia, close to the Atlantic coast. I've seen it in the Dismal Swamp before. I did try growing it in Maryland. Actually, the birds took it to make nests with before I ever got a chance to see whether or not it was cold hardy. Now this is Tillandsia bulbosa, and you can see that it is quite green. So the trichomes, even though they're there, are not as pronounced. I do like the architecture on this plant. So what makes Tillandsias such a versatile plant is that their size is not overly large, and they're very amenable to taking in the house during the winter if you live up in the temperate zone. Some will tolerate some colder temperatures, but in general they prefer their temperatures somewhere between 50 and above. This is Tillandsia bulbosa again. You can see that pretty red color. It is in flower. Now there is no soil in those heads. There's an indentation where you could do that, but not by much. But they are completely epiphytic again, so you don't put them in soil or they will rot. Now because they're totally epiphytic, they can be hung by monofilament line, by fishing twine. And they will pup just like other bromeliads. And not all will do that, but the vast majority will send out offsets, and eventually it will form a ball. Now this one is being held in mid-air by some fishing line. And if you hang that on your deck, you don't see the fishing line. It makes it appear that you have a plant that's growing in mid-air, which is kind of cool. So this is another example of how you can grow Tillandsias hanging on fishing line or monofilament. So as you can see, it's really hard to see the fishing line. This started out as one plant. And what you see, this ball, is comprised of all the offsets. We call them pups, and most Tillandsias will do that. And you'll have this really nice Tillandsia ball hanging in midair, which I think is really cool. So you can also install Tillandsias on pieces of wood because they're total epiphytes. They will grow very well like that. Now you give them the same amount of water, but you can see that this has a hook on it, and that can be hung either inside. If you're up north, I'm going to hang this right off of the plant deck. So now I'm going to show you about watering, and here's kind of what not to do. Don't just mist your plant. Make it thoroughly wet. Spray it down. You can use a spray bottle, that's okay, but don't mist it. Oh, look at that. See if I can keep it from doing that. Anyway, so get it thoroughly wet. See how it's dripping? Now you couldn't see the transition probably, but you see how it has turned green? That means that the trichomes on the leaves have absorbed water. So let your plant be thoroughly wet and thoroughly dry. There is no set schedule for watering any plant. You really have to gauge what your local conditions are, whether it's outside or inside. Just once a week ought to be enough. Twice a week during the summer, especially if you've got it in a lot of light and it's very warm. So guys, I hope you will try to grow Tillandsias no matter where you are. Now down here at the Tangle, I grow them outside year round. Up north though, you can take them inside. Now give them some light in a sunny window. They'll be really happy. Water them like I just showed you and you'll never have another problem. So no matter where you are, I hope your sun is shining. I hope you have an island breeze blowing. I think you ought to get growing and have some fun. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.